to the site of Stephen's murder. Do all of you know the story? I think Tim has been to readings. Many of you have been to readings before that I've done. So we know that Stephen Pitcairn was a 23-year-old breast cancer researcher at Hopkins, and when he was killed 3 years ago. And it was 2 days before his birthday. He would have been 24. So actually this Saturday would have been his 27th birthday, this coming Saturday. So there's an epigraph in my book by the poet Charles Wright, and it reads, "Remember me, speak my name. When the moon tugs at my sleeve, when the body of water is raised and becomes the body of light, remember me, speak my name." And I think that any family who has lost someone to, in any way, it's what we all want for our loved ones, we don't want them to be forgotten. We want them to be remembered. And so you'll hear me say Stephen Pitcairn a number of times tonight. One of the things that Stephen said in an email to his mother at one time was, "Mom, I want to give a lot, and at the end to have left some small mark that people will remember." This is what he said about his life. There's a plaque in Stephen's memory at Hopkins where he used to work, where his laboratory was, and it says, "In memory of Stephen Bradley Pitcairn, his endless enthusiasm and kindness will not be forgotten by those whose lives he touched." So now I'd like to read a couple more of the poems. Slain is the first poem I wrote in Stephen's voice. I wrote this in August of 2010, a month after his murder. And I was really very hesitant to send this to his mother because I didn't know Stephen, and I'm writing a poem in her son's voice. But my friend Margaret Mullins, who's a poet, said, "Send it." So I did. And when Pitcairn wrote a letter to me, again, another letter, and said that it sounded like Stephen would say something like this. So I just kept writing the poems. So this is Slain, August 25th, 2010. I miss small joys, oysters on the half shell, a good joke. I want years to explore all the stops on my personal map. Give me the chance to celebrate my 24th birthday. Is it too much to ask for one piece of chocolate cake? I grieve for my parents, my sisters, my coworkers, my friends, the light they lost when I died. My mother heard my final cries over the phone. Mom, the last word I spoke. I need time for embraces, hugs, a long, exuberant farewell. I forgive the pair who gouged my heart. Make them understand what they did. Thank you, kind stranger who held me in the street. I did not know your name. I could barely move my lips. Blood flowed from my wound, soaking both of us. I felt your comfort, your voice calmed my final breath. Goodbye, dear ones, I'll be off now, the youngest doctor in the angel crowd. They gave me an instant medical degree. Look for me in the gallant green-garbed full moon, my grin an oasis in the night sky. In quiet moments, listen to nature, birds, cicadas, a butterfly wing. In their music, my heart still beats. In October, I wrote a poem in the voice of Gwen Pitcairn. And this is another one where I hesitated to send it because I was writing in her voice about how she felt about the loss of her son. But she had been communicating with me through the emails, so I felt like I understood a little bit, of course not completely, obviously. But I wrote the poem and I sent it to her, and again, she indicated to me in an email that it was how she felt. My mother speaks 3 months after my murder. Sun, unbearable star, illuminates the sky. Another crushing day without you on this earth. Blue mornings blur my vision, conjure your lost eyes. The knife severed 2 hearts, left mine a wounded sparrow shuddering inside me. When sleep will not come, I call your dead phone. Your voice in absence, my ears grieve. The silence keeps getting louder and louder. My path broken, your departure so abrupt, the steps of your journey alive in my mind. My beautiful boy, you leaped into this world, became a man, your gifts a salve, a healing force. That last night you spoke with passion about your research, a chance to serve. When you ran into evil, I could not stand your bliss. Stephen, send me a light, a portion of moon, something I can embrace, a way to touch you, son. Each time I breathe, my chest feels the blade. And then at Christmas Day would have been Reggie Higgins' birthday. And Reggie was the neighbor who is my friend and came out of his house to hold Stephen in his last moments. He didn't know Stephen in life. But he's a kind and compassionate person. So I wanted to write a poem in his voice, and I actually tried to interview him for the poem, but he's very, very shy, and he didn't want to talk about it, so I just wrote it the way I felt, maybe he felt. Reggie Higgins speaks, Christmas Day, 2010. In the heart of winter, people swarm to the malls, search for presents while I relive the night my life changed. An ordinary Sunday in July, the moon a brilliant pearl in the Baltimore sky. I heard a loud cry, an anguished scream, sounds so raw they resonate in my sleep. I ran outside, the street lamp dark. A young man lay by the curb, a hole in his chest, a rush of blood I could not stop. I held him as if he were my own. Never mind the different shades of our skin, both of us red in the moonlight. I cradled his head, he called out Mom before dying in my arms. I did not know Stephen Pitcairn until his last moments on earth. If I can believe my presence soothed him on his journey, then I received the best gift. I held him in the summer night. No one should die alone. The Pitcairn family is so grateful to Stephen because every time they go over this in their mind, you can imagine over and over, they know that at least their son was not alone when he died, and that's a comfort to them. In this poem, Stephen, April 3rd, 2011, the significance of that date was, here in the poem, Stephen had last seen his mom on April 3rd of 2010. It was a couple months before the murder. A couple weeks after the murder, he was supposed to have gone home for an extensive family vacation and a family wedding. So the family was getting ready for his, 2 or 3 week holiday with them, which they never got to enjoy. To My Killers, April 3rd, 2011. Did you feel anything when you took my life? Your blade broke through skin and muscle, tore my young heart. Then, marked with my blood, you ran like rabid dogs into the moon-carved night. You carried away my wallet, my phone, possessions I had already offered. I imagine your heart's black canyons, unable to bear the lightness you heard in my voice as I talked to my mom. The rage of all you never knew exploded in your brains. Your knife spoke, its upward thrust a curse. Your life's a bad list, misdeeds, the tumbling fall into the cesspool of the world. Do you wake up with remorse? What if you could start over? Return to your infant blankets, gaze into the faces of mothers who loved you. What might have changed the paths you followed? Your awful choices severed my journey. 1 year ago today, I saw my mom for the last time. I want to go back, comfort her. When you kill a son, you kill his mother too. I really wanted to write a poem in the voice of the tree, because every time I walk down the street, I go by that tree. So I decided if I was going to write a poem where the tree speaks, I would have the moon speak, because there was a full moon that night. And then I thought about having the knife speak as well, the murdered weapon. I went to the trial every day of Stephen's killers. They never apologized to the Pitcairn family because they said that somebody else did it and the real killer was out there, even though they were found with Stephen's phone, and I mean, it was very, you know, all the evidence, there was no way they weren't guilty, let's put it that way. But they never apologized. Moon tree knife. Moon. I was full that night, my favorite phase. Stephen looked up at me, a beacon to guide him home. My gold surface a blessing, what I offered was not enough. When he fell, my light revealed his blood. Stephen gazed skyward, struggled for breath, saw my perfect face. I hoped I gave him one last burst of joy. Tree. In summer, my foliage provides a respite from heat, the sun's fervor. I am a sanctuary of nature in the city. That night, my roots trembled when two people killed a boy, my shadows hiding their brutal attack. He died beneath my branches. I could do nothing. I wanted to embrace Stephen and the neighbor who held him, wrap them both in my healing green. Knife. My blade ended Stephen's life. It was not my choice. Men created me for good deeds, slicing apples, whittling an animal from a piece of wood. At the trial, lawyers held me aloft. I felt the loathing in everyone's eyes. The killers who used me that night expressed no remorse. Dear family whose lives I slashed, forgive me for the loss of your beautiful boy. The title poem is Afterwards, October 25th, 2011. Cold autumn rain blurs the landscape, the trial over, a sentence handed down. My mom returns home, her suitcase, the lightest burden she bears. Murder leaves a heavy space, the full moon a circular loss in the sky. Now I appear only in photographs I hope won't wrinkle or fade. My family and friends will always weep. I want to comfort them, be my own ghost this Halloween. Show up at their doors, make them smile again. Death can't take everything. I know I mattered. Afterwards, my heat still warms the earth. And I'll close with this poem from the book. It's 2 years after my murder, but it might just as well be 3 years after my murder. July 25th, 2012. When death is fresh, everyone pays attention. A face in the news, flowers at the murder site, grief a sound that blocks out the sun. Months pass, the moon returns to fullness. The faucet of sorrow, once a force, slows. Family and friends camouflage their pain, suffer in the dark silence of memories. A knife stopped my heart on a summer night. I can't forget that knife. A weapon trumps a dream. Who will trust the voices of the dead? This strange language may not be heard. My journey from I am to I was, too abrupt. My blood mixing with the litter of the street. I felt the knife go in. I was scared. The energy of last moments is a story unwritten. Time is fleeting, color lasts forever. I live on in blue, a doctor of sky. Thank you. I just thought I would ask. Yes, Dave.
What kind of lawyers do they have? Public defenders? Did you ever get a chance to talk?
Oh, you mean the murderers?
Yeah.
They had public defenders. They were very good. I mean, I have to say. I mean, I've watched all these shows on TV, like we watch these, Law and Order or whatever shows, and I'd never been to a murder trial before. It's really very interesting. It's not something I would like to do on a regular basis, but I thought that the killer, well, actually, it was John Wagner, it was the male. The woman who was with him, LaVelva, she testified against him, so she did a plea, and she got, I think, 15 or 20 years, I'm not sure which, and he got life plus 27. He's not getting out. He'll never get out.
Was there any, did you get any insight into his upbringing or personality that might have formed this rage?
Well, he didn't testify or anything. I mean, they were on drugs that night. They were high. They were high that night, yeah. And he had a lot, from what I understand, a lot of anger issues. And there was a warrant out for his arrest. He had gotten in some fight and beat a couple people up. And I don't think he'd ever killed anyone before, but it was, that rage was building in him. Don't you read that sometimes, that people, they commit these crimes and then they just sort of like they escalate or something. But for some reason that night, Stephen had given his phone. They had the phone, but...
How do you know that he get the offer then? You said so in your poem that he offered to give them these things.
Well, Gwen heard him on the phone. She heard him say, "Here, take this." So she just assumed that he was handing the phone over to them. She heard him say something like to that effect, So yeah.
You should never think of the value of the property and cash that was taken. As a 23-year cab driver, we simply refer to dead cab drivers as dead witnesses. It's got little or nothing to do with what they obtained from you.
No, of course
You're just a dead witness.
Right. No, of course not.
Have you heard from the family, though, on a better note this year? What news do they have?
Well, the mom has just moved. She was living in the family home where she lived since Stephen was born, and there were just too many memories there. His parents are divorced for a number of years, and so Gwen lives by herself, and the two daughters, Stephen's sisters, are both in college. One in Boston and the other in someplace in Ohio.
Studying.
So they're, what's that?
What field of study?
Well, Emily studies some long scientific, she's getting a PhD in some form of science.
She might want to be a researcher also.
Yeah, I think probably so. The other daughter, I'm not sure. She just finished her sophomore year of college.
You said so in the poem, but did you tell everyone that they awarded him a medical degree when you were talking about the plaque? He was awarded a medical degree, was he not?
No.
Oh, I thought they...
It was just in the poem.
I thought that Hopkins actually gave him a degree.
No, but of course there is a scholarship fund in his name, and the first scholarship has already been awarded, and they'll award the second one this fall. No, that was just something that I put in the poem. But Stephen actually was working on a research paper at the time of his death, and those take years to do. The paper's coming out this year, and his name will be on it. They've continued working on it, but they're putting his name on the paper, so he'll get credit for that. He's very much loved where he worked in the lab at Hopkins. In fact, Dr. Semenza, his boss, emailed me this morning. I emailed him about the reading, and he just emailed me back and said, "Good luck with the reading, and can't make it, but I'll be thinking about you." So I just tried to stay in touch with him and with Gwen Karen. It's difficult. She's in Florida, it's very hard. But she has good things about Baltimore. Stephen loved it here. He loved Esther, this lovely woman here who he lived with for a year. He loved Esther. He loved his job. He liked to go to different restaurants. He was quite into food stuff, even though he was so skinny. He was happy here, and so the family has nothing against Baltimore at all. They're certainly very happy with the book and very happy with the Hopkins community is in touch with the family quite a bit, and they stay in touch. I actually sent a copy of the book to the president of Hopkins University because I was asked to do it by Helen Kennelly, who works in the development office, and I sent the copy, and I got this beautiful letter on this fancy stationery from President Daniels thanking me for the book. So the Hopkins community is very good about keeping in touch.
Shirley, I just would like to say, speaking for myself, I thank you for what you've done. I think it's a beautiful, beautiful gesture, and you did something that all you expressed beautifully, the feelings of all of us and his family and all the people involved.
Well, it's certainly nothing I've ever done before, but I just felt, I really felt guided to do it. I think I received some kind of guidance to do it. I really do. And when I think of Stephen now, I just think, he's up there, he's watching out for everybody. I believe that. I feel sorry for people who don't believe in heaven, and I don't want to get into that discussion tonight. But I'm saying, I do believe in it, so thank goodness for that. Thank you for coming out. This is very important to me that, tomorrow would be the anniversary, the 3rd year, and on Saturday I'm doing a reading at New Mercury, the wind-up space, North Avenue, and that will be Stephen's birthday on that date, the 27th. It would have been 27th.
That'll be a venue. That's nice. That'll be
Pardon me?
a nice venue.
That'll be a nice venue. So thank you for coming. Hope you mingle a little bit. I do have books if anyone's interested. There's cookies from Eddie's. I'd like to thank Eddie's for donating the cookies and all these my lovely lady friends who brought flowers, and thank you for coming tonight. And the people from the VLP. Thank you.